Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says he is ready to work with the US on their vision for ending the war with Russia after receiving a draft of the proposed new peace plan.
A fire broke out at the United Nations Climate Summit in Brazil, prompting evacuations and disrupting climate talks.
The European Union and the Indo-Pacific region have gathered in Brussels. For the Philippines, this is an opportunity to strengthen maritime cooperation.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has received a draft of a proposed new peace plan from the US, calling it the American side's assessment, which could help reinvigorate diplomacy. Zelensky's office confirmed this in a statement on Thursday, saying there are plans to discuss diplomatic opportunities with US President Donald Trump in the coming days. The announcement comes after reports of a secret peace plan negotiated between the US and Russia, which did not include Ukraine or any of its European allies. US media reported that the 28-point plan includes calls for Kyiv to give up areas of the Donbass in eastern Ukraine that it still controls, significantly cut the size of its armed forces, and surrender many of its weapons. In his nightly address, Zelensky said Ukraine needs worthy peace that must respect the dignity of the Ukrainian people. Responding to the development, EU leaders struck a defiant tone on Thursday, saying any peace plan must consult Ukraine.
The European Union is pushing back against the 28-point plan approved by U.S. President Donald Trump early on Thursday to end the war in Ukraine. The plan, first reported by U.S. media outlet Axios, is set to include terms that would be highly disadvantageous for Ukraine, such as the complete surrender of the eastern Donbass region. The plan has yet to be presented to the Russian and Ukrainian sides and has reportedly not involved Europe in its formulation. The EU's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, speaking as she hosted European foreign ministers for a summit in Brussels, denounced the idea, claiming that a just agreement must be reached.
What we as Europeans have always supported is a long-lasting and just peace, and we welcome any efforts to achieve that. Of course, for any plan to work, it needs Ukrainians and Europeans on board. So this is very clear. Also, we have to understand that in this war there is one aggressor and one victim, so we haven't heard of any concessions on the Russian side.
The sentiment was echoed by the French top diplomat.
Discussions should start with a ceasefire on the contact line that allow for negotiation on the question of territories, on the question of security guarantees. We have said that, the US have said that, President Trump has said that, and Ukrainians are ready for this. The only obstacle to such the ordered discussions so far is Vladimir Putin.
Budapest, however, who has always endorsed a highly critical view of Ukraine, remained the outlier.
So if Brussels and the leadership here in Brussels was normal, then they should have stopped the payments to Ukraine, and they immediately should have demanded for a financial clearance. Are we crazy? So there's a war mafia, a corrupt system working in Ukraine.
The meeting in Brussels is aimed at exploring ways to further support Ukraine amid its ongoing war with Russia. Foreign ministers held discussions on the European Commission's plan to support Kyiv's military with 135 billion euros to cover its needs for 2026 and 2027.
Strapped into a Fennec military helicopter, we lift off over the Orléans-Brissy airbase in central France. Euronews was granted exclusive access on board this light and highly maneuverable aircraft, one of the key tools France now relies on for anti-drone operations across Europe. But the Fennec is just one piece of Taranis, France's major high-intensity military exercise. Over the course of 3 weeks, the Air Force trains for scenarios shaped by today's increasingly tense geopolitical climate.
Taranis 2025, ce qui nous anime, eh bien, c'est vraiment fidèle à la devise de la brigade aérienne d'assaut et de projection, c'est de combattre et sauver. Combattre, je parle plutôt pour un parti hélicoptère, évidemment. Eh bien, ça va être déposer des commandos, récupérer des commandos, ça va être d'agir dans les airs pour assurer la souveraineté de l'État dans son espace aérien. Sauver, eh bien, ça va être aussi de récupérer des gens au sol, de treuiller, etc. Donc c'est ça qu'on va démontrer aujourd'hui.
Down below, the roar of the A400M transport plane punches through the clouds. The Orléans-Brissy Air Base hosts almost the entire French A400M fleet. 24 aircraft capable of evacuations, humanitarian drops, and heavy transport. To keep these crews mission ready, Taranis pushes them onto improvised runways, including this brand new gravel strip inaugurated for the exercise. In total, 250 personnel and 20 aircraft from France and Greece are mobilized, all with one single objective: to strengthen tactical expertise ahead of potential high-intensity conflict. The Taranis exercise will wrap up on November 27, marking the 80 years of France's military air transport command.
A fire broke out at the United Nations Climate Summit in Belém in Brazil, prompting evacuations and disrupting climate talks. The summit organizers said everyone was evacuated safely, but reported that the blue zone had been shut down temporarily to complete the necessary safety checks. The disruption came at a critical moment as negotiators were struggling to reach a consensus on certain key topics. Just before the fire broke out, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres had urged countries to show willingness and flexibility to deliver concrete results.
I think this is not the moment to talk about the possible failure of the COP. It is the moment to guarantee that that failure doesn't occur. And so I am perfectly convinced that a compromise is possible, that to take into account, as I mentioned, the legitimate concerns of adaptation and the legitimate concerns of mitigation.
The local fire service said the cause of the fire was believed to be an electrical device, likely a microwave. 13 people were treated on site for smoke inhalation. The Blue Zone has since been reopened and continued operations late on Thursday.
The European Union and the Indo-Pacific region have gathered for a meeting in Brussels. This fourth ministerial forum is focusing on the themes of resilience, prosperity and security. For some participants, such as the Philippine Secretary of Foreign Affairs, the event is an opportunity to strengthen maritime cooperation in the face of Beijing's claim in the South China Sea.
The EU has been very supportive in its statements. Secondly, there's also been Secondly, there's also a lot of support through the visits of the member EU countries, frigates that passes the South China Sea, and this gives a lot of impetus on the relations and the principle of the navigational aspects of the challenges that we have in the South China Sea.
Manila and Beijing have accused each other of being responsible for several maritime confrontations and other incidents in the region in recent months. Chinese authorities claim certain waters in the region, even though an international court has ruled against them. The Philippines has therefore welcomed the participation of some EU member states in maritime exercises as observers.
Israeli strikes in Gaza's southern city of Khan Yunis early on Thursday killed 5 people, raising the death toll from airstrikes in the territory since the previous evening to 33. The strikes, according to local health officials, have been some of the deadliest since 10 October when a U.S. brokered ceasefire came into force. Local authorities have reported more than 300 deaths since it began. Officials at Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis said they received the bodies of 17 people in total, including 5 women and 5 children, following 4 Israeli airstrikes targeting tents sheltering displaced people. In Gaza City, 2 airstrikes on a building killed 16 people, including 7 children and 3 women, local officials said. The renewed escalation came after Israel said its soldiers had come under fire in Han Yunis on Wednesday. Israel said no soldiers were killed, but they responded with strikes. Hamas condemned the strikes, calling them a shocking massacre, and denied firing against Israeli troops.
The Christmas market in the German city of Magdeburg officially reopened on Thursday, nearly a year after a tragic car ramming attack claimed the lives of 6 people. More than 140 merchants opened their stalls, selling candles, woolen hats, mulled wine, and other Christmas treats. German media outlets reported that this year, the market also comes equipped with a Ferris wheel. The market also reopens with a heavily beefed-up security apparatus to prevent tragic incidents like that of last year from reoccurring. Local authorities and federal agencies reportedly invested upwards of €250,000 in new security systems, including concrete blocks, to prevent cars from entering the market. 5 women and a young boy died last year after a Saudi man rammed a rented vehicle into a crowd of market goers on December 20th. 51-year-old Talib al-Abd al-Mohsen was charged with 6 counts of murder and 338 counts of attempted murder. His trial started last week at the Magdeburg State Court and is scheduled to run through to March. If convicted, Abd al-Mohsen faces life imprisonment.